Dungeons & Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game created by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin in 1972. In classic nerd stereotype, the game also happened to be created in a basement. To play this game, you need a dungeon master that will lead the campaign or story and have the rulebook, dice, including the famous D20 die, pen and paper, and your imagination to create your character, which can be whatever in-game race and whatever in-game class you want them to be. As with most things that are popular, controversy tends to follow. Religious figures of the 70s accused D&D, as it is colloquially called, of poisoning the minds and hearts of young children, enchanting them with magic and witchcraft, making these children susceptible to the wiles of Satan himself. The game took an especially hard hit in 1980 when James Dallas Egbert III took his own life. Though Egbert had a history of mental health problems, some people accused D&D of causing him to end his life. D&D took another significant hit in 1982 when Irving Lee Pulling took his life as well, and his mother, Patricia Pulling, accused the tabletop game of influencing her son to take his life. However, just like Egbert, Irving had some trouble in his life. Patricia Pulling was so distraught that she formed Bothered About Dungeons & Dragons, or BAD, in 1983. Through a harsh media campaign, Pulling and BAD started a moral panic and satanic panic that caused Dungeons & Dragons' popularity to dwindle. Today, Dungeons & Dragons has had a resurgence in popularity with the help of the show Stranger Things and the livestream show Critical Role. From children to adults, Dungeons & Dragons is a game that can be enjoyed by anyone. Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Explore Paso. I'm your host, Carmen Arriola, and today we're at the Game Vault, located at 9828 Montana Avenue. I'm joined by the owners of the Game Vault, Ms. Lenny Bernard and Mr. Corey Bernard. Thank you to the two of you for sitting down and nerding out with me. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for coming by.
Your store is unique in that not only do you sell memorabilia like tabletop games and trading cards, but you're also a restaurant. What made you two decide to marry the idea together?
Well, it's actually been our dream for a long time. We actually met, I'm from El Paso, but I moved away shortly after high school. Ended up moving to Minnesota and finding a game store up there, which I didn't know those types of stores existed.
Yes.
And then there was a cute boy behind the counter, and I just kind of ended up hanging out, and we ended up becoming best friends, and we were inseparable from then forward, really. And we decided, eventually I started just doing things there and cleaning, and they were like, "Do you want a job?" I was like, "Sure." And so it was primarily a video game store with some Magic the Gathering, which is your favorite card game. And we just ended up working for them for a few years and helping them grow to one of the largest locations in the Twin Cities. And eventually we got married in 2014. And then we decided, we kept asking the owners to possibly invest into a restaurant idea with this game store because we loved the game store, but he's got culinary talents that he wanted to use. And so things went on, and we realized that like nothing, I didn't think El Paso had anything like this. So we wanted to come home and open up our own version of the game store. Plus my parents are here and they were getting older and having some health issues, so we wanted to be closer to them, especially after we got married. And then you can talk about your culinary talents.
Yeah, so the reason why I kept pushing to do the restaurant at the old store that we worked for in Minnesota is that I went to school for baking and culinary, graduated I think 2012.
From Le Cordon Bleu?
From Le Cordon Bleu, I think 2012, with a baking degree in pastries and laminated doughs. And I just really wanted to bring those two together. There was stores kind of popping up that were similar, board game cafes where you go and eat and play board games, but not really the retail side of it. And a lot of them popped up, did a lot of beer and wine and a lot of simple food. And I really wanted to bring more to the gaming industry than just frozen pizzas and, unhealthy fried food, essentially.
We talked about that a lot. Is he really he may eat Taco Bell sometimes, but he really likes real food, and he wants to know what he's eating and what we're putting in. And especially in our industry and our lifestyle, it's very common.
Sit down and play games all
sedentary.
day.
So he wants real food in our bodies. So we wanted to make everything fresh and everything by hand and everything by scratch. So that was a big thing for him. We found, especially on our travels, we found a couple board game cafes, but they were more focused on the drinks and the foods, and then the smaller games and sit on the couch and play game. We wanted the retail aspect as well. So it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. We moved back and we saved and we did a lot of research and we worked a lot of jobs. And then eventually we met our landlords in Crossing, and they gave us a little tiny hole in the wall. It was like 600 square feet. We opened that in 2017. And then it grew very quickly. People really liked it. We started off with just the retail because we had all the product already at home. We kept collecting it as we went. We started off with just that because we were very familiar with the retail side of things, and we were able to work other jobs and work that. So we did that for about a year, and then we expanded into the suite next door. And then we relocated entirely to these suites here where we are now. Shortly after, in about 2019, and we started on the kitchen project, which unfortunately we had a lot of issues with.
A lot of setbacks. And part of it was the city, part of it was contract. Part of the city struggled to understand our business model. They still don't know where to classify us, which was very
retail
difficult.
Or restaurant.
Difficult because there's different requirements for each one. So it was definitely a jumping through hoops here in El Paso, being the first of.
And explaining a lot of things and having people come out and look, let me show you. But we finally, thankfully, we finally got the kitchen project done in 2020 during the pandemic when we were shut down. So we were able to
reopen for curbside as an essential business, serving food.
So our kitchen launch was a little sad, but it was all curbside to begin with. But it's taken off really well since then.
Corey, so on the website it says that the restaurant aspect of the store serves pizzas and sandwiches and other types of foods like that. But the website also mentions that sometimes you make special treats that are not on the menu. So what has been some of the things that you've made?
So every day we make new things. There's me and 3 other bakers. We make anything from homemade cookies to cheesecake, cake, cupcakes, and everything's from scratch. I mean, we don't do anything frozen. We don't do anything that just pull out and bake or just pull out and put in the case. We do macaroons from scratch. And everything changes almost every day. The downside is if you really wanted macaroons or a cheesecake, you might come in and it might not be there. But we try to rotate it. We try to do new things. With my culinary degree and my baking degree, and even the other bakers, they just love experimenting and trying new things. So I always push them to try new things and try new desserts. Just to get more people out and interested, because everyone likes something different. So it's definitely one of those things where I like to bring kind of my Midwest and French baking to El Paso. I mean, a lot of the stuff I make, a lot of people aren't sure what it is. I do a lot of puff pastries, and they're like, "What is it?" And I really like to introduce them to new experiences. So
baklava is one of my favorites.
And then the macaroons are becoming popular, but even that, there's a lot of people that still don't quite understand what they are. So it's awesome that they can come into the game store and be like, "What is this?" So, and I just love making everything from scratch. As much as I love fast food, I eat fast food like everyone else. There's something about homemade food that just so much better tasting, so much better smelling, so much, you walk in here and I love it smells like food.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. I just hope that other people share in the same passion. I mean, that's the concept that you come in and you love that you can get good food, healthier food than, the normal.
There's a certain stereotype people might have for customers who consume these kinds of products, but what is the reality? Is it men and women, young and old?
Oh, it's everyone.
Yeah.
It's there's no one type of demographic for our business. We've got we're starting to now in El Paso, we're starting to get more of the families, which is great. But otherwise, I've got I have a women's gaming group later today, and I have 18-year-olds and I have 70-year-olds.
Oh wow!
7 to 10-year-olds that come in for Pokemon Kids Day.
Yeah, we started a monthly Pokemon Kids Day, and that's ages 7 to 12, and so that's been fantastic. And then we have people in retirement that are playing board games, and then we have, of course, college kids that are playing the card games, and it's a little bit of everyone. We had an LGBTQ group for a while before COVID happened.
Yes.
And then I'm hoping to bring that back eventually.
The nice thing too is when you think of a game store, you think of a dirty dungeon or a basement. It's one of the stereotypes that happens in this industry. We're trying to break that model, and part of the concept is having the kitchen available, that people from outside come in for the food and have never experienced gaming and start seeing people gaming in a well-lit environment, as clean as possible. Obviously you gotta keep it clean.
And the new age games
well-lit.
too, not just Monopoly. Board games have really evolved since Monopoly.
And just so much better design, so you don't get mad at each other. But it's really just the concept that it's now family inviting, because you see all these people playing and you're coming in to get just food, and then you really turn the corner and go, this could be for me as well, So I don't think there's a demographic at this point, but it's definitely something that you do see a stereotype. But I definitely think having the cafe helps break that mold a little bit, feels a little more inviting, because you don't feel like obligated to play a game if you come to eat, but then you see everyone playing, you're like, maybe I'll try that game. So it's definitely a really good way to lean into this.
Find something new to do.
Yeah.
And we wanted a place for where the nerdy people could feel at home too, in a clean, well-lit environment.
Yeah.
But even the high schools are starting to do like their mini Comic Cons. Like they have Friday night football for their football kids. They have cheerleading and they have theater even. But they had nothing for those kids that didn't fit into any of those categories.
Like anime and video games. And
so now they're starting to do the Comic Cons, and we've been involved with those and stuff too, which is it's been really a pleasure.
With the recent resurgence of Dungeons and Dragons, people are going to be interested in playing the game. However, they may not know how to start the game. Does your store do special events to show people how to play the games and stuff like that?
We used to before COVID and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We used to host, it was multiple times a week. We had Dungeons and Dragons sessions where they could come in and play. And we also had beginner events too for all ages. And we hope to bring that back eventually. COVID has changed the way our business is laid out physically. So I don't have the space to offer that right now, but I will in the future.
And then all of our employees are really knowledgeable. I mean, we hired knowledgeable, friendly staff so that if someone had questions, they'd come in and ask. I mean, we have one of our employees, he sits down and teaches people board games, and even if they have questions about D&D, there's almost all of our staff has at least played. I mean, we've even done group sessions with our employees just to play for fun and really get everyone involved, just so they can see what it's like on both ends, playing and just having a good time, learning the basics at least.
Yeah, thanks to Stranger Things, D&D has really taken off.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of beginner product too. We have a couple beginner sets that they're less than $20, and they're a really good way to try out D&D at home and see if you like it, and then you can kind of invest in anything you want. You can stop right there and play as much as you want, or you can
just the starter stuff, really.
Or you can buy all the books and all the miniatures and all the terrain and everything. You can make it as fancy as you want. It can be as simple as you want.
How did COVID-19 affect your business?
I think it affected it a lot, like most people's businesses.
Yeah, most small businesses definitely struggled, especially right during the shutdown. We were shut down for a good almost 3 months.
We had to furlough our employees. We worked constantly. We brought our pets to work actually, and we ended up making it was a long-term goal of mine, and the pandemic actually forced me to do it, was to make an online catalog of all of our products, which we've now had to take down. But we inventoried our entire store and put it online, and had
about 3 days probably, just to keep product moving and business going.
Give people an option to support and stuff too, and especially being in a military town, we've had a lot of clients that have loved us and then moved away, and that gave them a chance to support us too. And then, like I said, with the cafe opening during the pandemic, that really saved us.
Yeah, I mean, we started putting posts up, kind of like you see on the Facebook groups, hey, we're doing pizza today, who wants to order? And so we'd do that, and that really kept us alive for those few months that we were closed, and we just did curbside, and we even actually did deliveries
for
a short time. Yeah. And it really helped us. And it's still been a struggle coming back. There's a lot of our clientele that are very scared to come out during it with the public and stuff. So it still affects us on a daily basis, but
yeah, we're slowly getting back.
Yeah, back to normal.
But we ended up physically, we had to rearrange our store to accommodate the curbside, and then I ended up just trying to bring in more product for people to do at home. Like we ended up bringing puzzles into the store.
Plushies, toys, a lot more.
Pop figures, we just recently started carrying those because of the pandemic. But because of that, we had to cut down our seating. We used to seat about 100 people. We'd have events for Magic the Gathering that would take up the entire space. And so now we're limited. So we expanded the sales floor and we cut down our seating to about 45.
And that was partly because of COVID regulations and partly just to be a little bit safer. You know, we don't want to crowd too many people in here, unfortunately. I mean, we hope we go back to, you know, eventually that big and stuff seating wise, but we definitely don't want to do it too quickly. So, and COVID's also affected running D&D and some of our other events, of course.
It's still affecting a lot of the shipping and receiving and logistics of things too. A lot of, I just got an email this morning that some of our stuff has been delayed. So I used to order every week, and now I'm ordering every other week or maybe once a month even from some of the companies.
And you used to get it the same week, and now it can be months before we get it. So it's definitely a different business now with COVID-19, but you just change, you
adapt.
Yeah, you just do what you can, and everyone likes supporting us, and that's the biggest thing, is being there for your community. They'll be here for you, so it's the best way to do it.
What are some future plans for the Game Vault?
Oh, well, we actually announced just recently that we're trying to find a new location.
A bigger location.
Yep, we need to, with the way things are kind of going back to normal, we need to get back to having more seating. I wanted private rooms for gaming. We need more cafe seating, and I have
more cafe room. The biggest complaint we
and
get
expanding the kitchen
is we don't offer coffee or any type of blended drinks or tea, and that's the biggest thing, and I just don't have room. I mean, I'm working out of a probably 200 square foot kitchen, maybe a little bit smaller than that even, making homemade stuff from scratch. You're very limited, so I just don't have the room to put in the equipment. So that's the big push. We want to kind of focus heavier in a board game concept where it's a board game cafe on top of the retail with private rooms and gaming, where it's separate almost, so that you can come in and enjoy the food and the drinks without having to worry about all the tables being full of people playing card games and stuff, so that there's places that you can come in and eat and enjoy the board game a little bit quieter. Sometimes it gets really loud.
It does get loud in here.
So that's our big push. Another concept that we've been looking at is a food truck, so we can travel around to all the different conventions,
the high school Comic-Cons
conventions, and then just put our name out there even more. Like the West Side, people really want our food, but they don't want to drive over here for the food. So the food truck is something that we've been kind of looking at to do to kind of expand that.
Yeah, so we just announced that a couple months ago, actually.
Yeah. So we've been looking. It's a lot of work though, trying to find buildings and building a kitchen in El Paso was already a struggle with contractor and the city. That we're trying to find something kind of ready, kind of built, but that's very difficult with the size we're looking for. So it's
there's lots of restaurants out there, but they're very small, and I need something large.
Other than that, other plans is just to be out in the community more, do more of the school events and things like that, which we do most of them, but just to really get involved in the community, like the Pokemon Go guys. It's really like utilizing the space out here and coming out here. So there's more events like that too, I think is always our push.
Right now we can only schedule about one event per night, but eventually if we have a bigger space, I can schedule my girls' nights. I can do that to a weekly thing instead of a monthly thing. Or we could do even the Pokemon Kids, instead of doing a monthly, it could be a weekly thing or a bi-monthly thing. But right now we're just so limited on space.
Any last statements that you would like to share?
Just be nice, be patient, have fun, happy gaming.
Yeah, and just thank all our customers that love coming and spending the day and helping other customers enjoy being here. I mean, that's really what it's about, is the community, not us. I mean, as much as I love the business, I really love the community, and that's why I do the business, not just because I'm here to make $1 million. I'm here to play games like everyone else. I mean, I've been playing Magic the Gathering for almost 20-something years, and I love that there's a community. I mean, if there wasn't, I'd be sad. I mean, I can sit at home and play games by myself, but it's just not the same. It's all about the community, and I'm glad they come out and have a great time, have great times with new people.
And there you have it, folks. The Game Vault, located at 9828 Montana Avenue. Once again, Lindy and Corey, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me about your business. I really do appreciate it.
Anytime.
Right. I'm your host, Carmen Arreola, and this is
Explore El Paso.